Hi everyone, it's New Jersey Garden. It's time for an August garden tour. I'm going to walk around the garden and show you what has been growing the last few weeks. This is Jupiter's beard. It actually bloomed in the spring and it's actually blooming again. If you trim it back by about halfway after it blooms, you'll get a second bloom. And it's doing nicely in this spot. This is a very dry spot I have in the garden, and this flower, also known as red valerian, does really well in dry spots. This over here is a catmint plant that kind of found its way in here, but it actually kind of goes well together. And because this area gets so weedy, it's right next to the driveway, I tried to fill it in this year with some white alyssum that I have down here, as well as this purple fuzzy plant. It's called ageratum. And ageratum and the alyssum actually will self-seed. They are annuals here in zone 6A, but they will just drop their seeds and you'll have plants the next year. So that's the nice thing about both of these plants. And again, they're both drought tolerant and deer resistant. Over here, these tall spiky plants are a nice treat. They're Gladiolus. I really enjoy them. This one here is towards the end of its bloom. It's a beautiful pink flower with a little bit of dark pink coloring. There'll be another bloom coming in the next few days. I had a yellow one. They grow from bulbs, and I planted these bulbs a few years ago. And you can take them inside in the winter and store them. I probably should have been doing that, but they've been coming back for me every year. So for whatever reason, maybe the snow cover or somehow they're just insulated well enough that they will come back for me. But the recommendation is to dig them up in this climate and store them and then replant them in the spring. This is another Catmint. This is called Walker's Low. I had it growing in the spring. Again, I cut this back about half and it's blooming again. Bumblebees really like this plant. Over here I just have some seedlings of the red valerian. I have a lot of plants scattered through the garden that are kind of mixed color, a little bit of clashing, but I don't mind that. I like color in the garden. There's some alyssum again and some ageratum, and then this is yarrow that was really colorful. It's at the end of the bloom right now, but it has really pretty pink and peach and orange tones to it. And another drought resistant plant that does really well in this garden. We have clay soil here. It's very rocky clay soil, and this particular yarrow has done really well in the garden. Now this one, I love this plant. I wanted to do a little focus on this. This is called blanket flower, and one of my subscribers commented that she loves the blanket flower. I do too. I normally don't love like red and orange flowers, but for some reason this flower is just really attractive to me. It blooms all summer. It blooms about 5 months. Non-stop. I mean, I don't even have to deadhead this flower very often. It will keep blooming and blooming. And I've had these flowers for about 6 years, and unfortunately they're starting to get diseased. So I've pulled up a few of them, and I have some seedlings, and if those seedlings turn out okay, I'll continue to nurture them and grow them. But there is a disease that they can get, and unfortunately mine seem to have gotten that disease, and I had to pull a few of them out. But they bloom so long. I've seen them actually in Florida, just growing in the wild. So it's another drought, a plant for a good drought tolerant zone. A lot of my plants, I don't water all that much, and a lot of my plants can handle drought conditions really well. This summer we've had quite a lot of rain. We usually don't have this much rain. We had so much rain this spring and summer, but normally I don't water the garden all that much. This is called mouse ear coreopsis. It bloomed in the spring, and I've been trying to cut it back occasionally, and I'll get new blooms. This here is a perennial. It's actually it's great. It blooms a lot in August and September. It has these little purplish flowers, and it really will spread quite a bit, so you have to keep your eye on it. It's actually a verbena. There's a few different types of verbena. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the annual Verbena, and then there's a tall perennial version. This one is a low growing version. It's a perennial here, and it will only grow this tall. It doesn't grow any more than this, but it does drop its seeds, and I get a lot of seedlings every year, and I do enjoy it. I love the color, so I just have to keep my eye on it. In the background is a lavender plant that I just trimmed off all of the blooms, and it will bloom again for me in September. This is a ground cover I have by the mailbox. It's called soapwort. It bloomed in the spring. I did a separate video on that. It was beautiful pink flowers. And I have some zinnia seedlings. The zinnias will be blooming in the next couple of weeks, and they bloom for a couple months. And I can't wait to show you the zinnias. I think we have one here. This is called State Fair. It will grow to be about 5 feet tall, and it's an amazing, amazing colors, and I'll show you more videos on the zinnia. So I planted a whole bunch of zinnia seeds. I plant a lot of my flowers from seed. I just enjoy seeing the process of the plants starting so small and growing up. And here's another yarrow. This, as you can see, really spreads. I believe this was a grapefruit variety of yarrow, and it really, really spreads, so it's doing well. I had a random sunflower that popped up. It's looking kind of sad right now. It finished blooming, but the birds, as you can see, the birds are nibbling at it, and I'm just going to leave it up there for the birds. In the background, you can see this tall, spiky plant that's called Liatris. It's really pretty, and the bees love it, and the butterflies especially love it. I've seen a lot of monarchs and swallowtail butterflies on this plant. Down here I have a mint plant called Calamint. Just a very simple plant. It doesn't get bothered by pests, which I enjoy. I don't use any pesticides, so I like plants that don't get bothered by any bugs or pests. I think there's a thunderstorm brewing. I hear some thunder in the background. So over here are some of the blanket flower seedlings, so I'm hoping these are disease free and I can keep those. Just have a lot of alyssum growing here. This plant, I'm so excited. I love dahlia. There's a dahlia here. There's one bloom right here, and then there's another bloom that will be coming over here. And I'm actually going to walk around this way. Sorry for the shadows here. It's the middle of the day. And this here is, I'm excited for this. This is new this year. I planted it from seed I believe last August, and it's now finally starting to bloom. And it will be completely covered with yellow blooms. It's actually a brown-eyed Susan. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this, or the black-eyed Susan variety. The brown-eyed Susan gets a lot taller than black-eyed Susan. So I'm expecting this to get even taller.